It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Getting closer every day to Christmas coming up on Monday, and we are in the holiday spirit. Welcome in. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Glad you're with us. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you guys are way more festivus than the rest of us here.
Oh yeah,
I must say in the attire.
You're going to get there though. We got you taken care of. We got a real special one.
I'm a little frightened by that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, we have a special one for you Friday. Mike has his on today because this is it for him. You're out today. You're traveling to a bowl game on Thursday. She'll be out in St. Pete's, right?
The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
There you go.
That might be my favorite bowl name of the entire bowl season.
Yesterday at the bowl site, every bowl week comes with certain events for the teams that are down there.
Oh, right.
They had two kids from each team racing, not like a normal lawnmower, like the big industrial size riding Bad Boy Mowers.
I saw you tweet that. That was pretty
awesome.
Impressive.
So as far as bowl events go, I know like the Outback Bowl, they used to do that wing eating contest and certain things like that. You're going to be hard pressed to beat the mower race for me. And the kid from FIU, that was a vet. I don't know if he grew up as part of a lawnmower service.
There's no doubt he was in the landscaping business. Yeah,
seen his way around one of those things a time or two.
He knew it well. So you have the North Swole on Santa flexing his muscles.
Yep, jolly old Saint Thick.
And I have the Christmas Story scene where Ralphie has the bar of soap in his mouth saying, "Oh, fudge."
Except I didn't say fudge. I said the word. The one word you can never, ever say.
You're going to win, though, Friday, what I have for you.
Yeah.
You're going to
win.
win.
I feel like when you say I'm going to win, I feel like I'm actually going to lose.
You're going to lose. We're all going to win.
There it is. Yeah. I think that's
pretty much it.
That's more of an appropriate description of what's coming at the end of the week.
Yeah, I would say so. And today we're going to steal a few of the things you've done on first and last year. 25 decisions.
Yeah, 25 days of decisions. Yeah, we went heavy Christmas today because, as you mentioned, I'm out for the rest of this week on Bowl Week. The next time you see me on ESPN Radio, I'll be filling in for you guys on Christmas Day here.
Right.
So we got to, figured we'd get in the holiday spirit and get at the heart of a lot of the issues that surround Christmas.
Yeah.
By the way, you're going where? What's the bowl game you're covering again?
The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
And that's wonderful, and I'm excited about that bowl game, and I'm happy for you. But honestly, to me, the bowl game is tonight.
It's tonight.
We've got you covered. Yeah. ESPN Radio has the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN Radio app, as well as ESPNRadio.com. Now, I have been consuming the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice.
You're a big Cheribundi guy.
For years.
Yes, you have.
And to see the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl just warms the cockles of my heart.
It really does. As well as the Cheribundi Tart does, huh?
Yes, it's wonderfully delicious. It's good for you. Over 200 college and pro teams use it as part of their recovery after workouts. It manages pain. It helps you recover from workouts, and also great sleep aid.
Nice sell.
There you go.
And the bowl game is in Boca.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Winner chicken dinner.
Yeah.
I've dubbed this one the Lane Kiffin Bowl, and I don't no disrespect to the Cheribundi Tart people. And
Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl.
Yeah,
get it right.
And the fine work they do. Listen, I remember that in my fridge at Notre Dame and like the team facility.
There it is.
It was in the fridge. Great anti-inflammatory. If you guys are listening, Trey doesn't have to be the only one, but just in case. But no, this is the Lane Kiffin Bowl. FAU is playing basically a home game in Boca Raton. They've been dominant this season, and it look to continue that going forward. And Lane Kiffin's going to stick around there for another year and continue to be living his best life in that home. He can be the ultimate troll because it's not a school that people are going to push back on. They're going to let him live.
They have like the biggest spread of any bowl game in like 40 years. They're like 22.5-point favorites over Akron.
I would like to point out that in this opening 4 minutes of the show, you have now said Lane Kiffin is coaching two different schools, FAU and FIU.
I didn't say he was coaching FIU.
Oh, yeah, the first part in the Gasparilla after.
I don't think he did.
He did.
No?
Well, we'll get a replay.
We'll have to get
it.
FIU
and FAU.
You're going to have to go back and check the tape on this one because I feel pretty confident in knowing my coach because FIU is Butch Davis. Like, that's a big name in his own right.
I'm not saying you didn't know. You probably just messed it up.
We'll have to hear that one.
I think
on tape.
You succumbed to the pressure.
Yeah, listen, sometimes people succumb. All
right. So lots to get to, and we'll get into more of the Cheribundi Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl.
We will.
A little bit later on.
That's impressive how you say it.
Really, it rolls off the tongue.
80% of the things you misspeak on in this show, but
correct.
That one rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it?
You have to stick a few. That's the one you have to stick. So we are glad you're with us. Well, by the way, we are going to put this up on the poll question because I thought Junior great on first and last. And we're gonna have these throughout the week as we get ready for Christmas.
We're stealing from your show.
By the way, if you don't celebrate Christmas, I get it. We all do. So just sort of be along for the ride.
Right.
What would you rather have? Fake tree, real tree? Put it up on the poll. Golic and Wingo, and we'd love to get your running sort of reactions to this because I think, Mike, you and I are of the same ilk for the same reasons.
I love listen, growing up, it was always a real tree. We'd go cut down a real tree. When the boys were young, again, sorry, Sydney, it was before you were born.
Like everything else good in life?
Yeah.
Let's move on.
We'd go cut down a tree, right? We'd cut down a tree, and I always had a real tree, but I always forgot to water it. I always dried it out. I never put the water in. It dried out. The needles dried out. They fell off everywhere, and they made a mess in the house. And not only that, it became a monster fire hazard as well. So my wife, Chris, God love her, she kept giving me a chance. You get another chance. You get another chance. After about 4 or 5 chances, she said, if you blow it this year, it's fake from there on out. And listen, I had it. It was my responsibility, and I blew it. I dried out another tree. I had another fire hazard in a house with kids, so I had to give up the dream of always having the live tree, and now we have a fake tree.
Yeah, I wasn't given the chance. I was just told we're getting a fake tree.
Well, see, then there's that way, too.
So put it up there, and we'll get your responses to that, Golic and Wingo. Oh, fake tree. Real tree. We'll
never real tree?
Always had real trees.
No, I mean, when
the kids were young, we did all that. And then at one point I was told, now we're getting a fake tree.
When that was it.
And that was it.
The fake tree with the lights already strung in it, too. You're just saving yourself so much of a hassle.
You are.
Although it's worth noting, Allie, who produces First and Last on my show, over here, her husband's a firefighter. And she said they're very real trees every year because one of the things, every guy that's a firefighter has a little pyro in him. And so they love rounding up Christmas trees at the end of the season and then lighting them all on fire from the top down, having a big bonfire and carrying them over their heads because they burn really quick too. So the firefighters protecting your neighborhood are also probably running around burning down Christmas trees.
That's good to know.
That's more information than I needed to know.
Welcome to the dark side.
And we'll just move on and we'll update that poll throughout the show here on Golic and Wingo. Okay, so it was a big night in the NBA for something that happened at the half. Kobe Bryant had his jersey retired. Scratch that. Kobe Bryant had his jerseys retired. And I wonder, what is a bigger honor? Is it a bigger honor to have your jersey retired at 2 different teams, at 2 different stadiums, or for one team to say, you know what? You were so good in both the 8 and the 24, we're going to hang them both.
Well, I mean, it's the first time it's ever happened, so we have nothing to really compare it to. And the one good thing about that, I think, for people is he played with one team. Yeah. Even though he went through that spell of the thought of going to get traded to Chicago possibly. He ended up all his years with the Lakers. So there's something to that. He was drafted by the Hornets, as we all know.
Then they made the trade.
So there is something to doing everything on one team. But if you're asking me what I'd rather have, I'd rather 2 jerseys by 2 different teams retired. That means I played well. If I played well enough on both those teams, I think he wore the jersey 10 years in each number, and he almost had identical numbers in both those jerseys. So I think if they were going to retire one, they were going to retire the other.
Yeah, I mean, this is just basically the jersey version of a clerical error. Like, I enjoyed Kobe in his speech saying jerseys with the S on the end to remind us that it was both. Like it was a greater distinction, but really this is just a clerical error surrounding that, because even if you play, I would rather have both retired in one place. I'd rather have one retired in one place because that meant you got to play your whole career in one place and you were really good, which was something that evaded me. So kudos to Kobe, but the 8 and the 24, All kind of the same deal for me.
If we never really gotten an explanation, was it of why the switch?
I think he just wanted to reinvent himself at some point, because that was, he won the 3 in a row with Shaq wearing the 8, and then they split up.
Then they fought in the sandbox.
Exactly.
Couldn't get along.
And it made you wonder how much they could have won together.
Oh my gosh.
If they just found a way to coexist, you know. And then they went on to 24. How about a novel idea? Instead of retiring 8 and 24, they just put up 32.
It's already up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that one could be a little bit of a tough sell.
Part 2.
Interesting. And listen, you knew it was going to get retired, and he said it was a great honor, saying all the right things. You know, Iverson was there, Shaq, Derek Fisher. It was Kevin Durant, Steve Kerr. They were on courtside watching it.
Which, by the way, was very
cool.
The
Warriors beat the Lakers in overtime in the game, which, to your point, was secondary. But I thought it was interesting. Shaq said that they are the greatest duo to ever play, so the greatest Laker duo to ever play. He and Kobe, of course, they won 3 in a row, and you're exactly right. Had they stayed together, got over themselves, and stayed together, what they possibly could have done. But boy, oh boy, I mean, there's just a couple of guys named Magic and Kareem that won themselves 5.
Won a few.
And I know Kareem was coming toward the end, but he was still a dominant player, was he not?
Absolutely. I mean, it was the Magic and Kareem era where they did something the Lakers had never done, which was win a Game 7 in Boston.
Yeah.
You know, with that run again of the Lakers Celtics back and forth all those years from like 80 to 87 was just amazing. It was absolutely ridiculous.
It was 130 for 30. The early 2000s Lakers are going to be another great 30 for 30.
Yeah.
I said that rift between Shaq and Kobe and everything that happened with their relationship, and listen, certainly a lot of the off-the-court things that happened with Kobe Bryant are all precursors for a lot of the drama that we've seen, specifically that relationship between those two. You can debate their place in the pantheon, that duo all time, but one thing you can't debate is that sort of tension and that relationship, the diss track that Shaq put out with all that, had all of the trappings of all the drama we see in today's NBA. Imagine what we would have done with social media with everything that went on with that.
Man. Yeah, and as outgoing as Shaq was doing the track already, if he had the social media to go along with it, where that would have gone. I completely agree with you, because I remember that going on and just going, are you kidding me? You know, when you always talk about, team above individual, and wow, that was just brutal.
Well, you would know that more than anyone. I mean, the amount of egos in the room on the defense that you played with, that can't have always been an environment where everyone necessarily felt comfortable watching the other guy shine at his expense.
Well, that's an interesting. We all played together very well, in the sandbox, as they say. We did have a lot of great players. I mean, we had a lot. I think one year we had 5 Pro Bowlers on the defense, so.
But there were heads butting on that team at certain times, were there not?
Mostly it was with the offense because they couldn't score enough.
Fair enough.
But, look, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You could also make a case that the 90s Cowboys would have been the ultimate team for social media.
Boy, you're right.
For a lot of different reasons.
True.
But that's a whole different discussion we get into.
Give them Snapchat and watch the world burn.
On another day. Kobe is our player that excelled, brought to you by DXL, the best XL fit. Hundreds of brands, DXL, the destination for style. And obviously, with the ceremony last night, Kobe was there and had a very interesting speech, and he closed out his speech last night with this message.
Hopefully what you get from tonight is the understanding that those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And if you guys can understand that, then what you'll see happen is that you won't accomplish your dreams. Your dreams won't come true. Something greater will. And if you guys can understand that, then I'm doing my job as a father. Thank you guys so much. I love you. And, Mamba out.
Went full Mamba out.
Out.
He was speaking specifically to his daughters there, but I think he's, in speaking to his daughters, I think a lot of people can sort of understand, like put in the work and then figure it out from there is basically what he's saying.
Right. I kind of like if it would end well, though. I mean, I agree with the hard work, but it's pretty nice if you get the payoff, right?
Well, and I mean, he even gave the nod to it right there for people that are listening on radio and not seeing that on ESPN2. They played the video of that point in the speech, and when he says, if you do that, something greater will happen, as he's talking about not worrying about the results, he points directly up to his two banners in the arena. Yeah. So clearly the results were all right too, Kobe.
Yeah. It's nice when you can get both.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Be like your dad and get both. That should be the message.
But the ceiling is the roof. We pretty much know that.
But he was like, it talks about the hard work, and he is certainly, notoriously known as one of the hard workers, as Jordan was and the greats were. I just, I don't like that comment of the hard. Nobody worked harder, because there's a lot of people that work hard or just as hard. Some just don't have as much talent, and they work hard and just don't get there. But he certainly had some great work ethic.
He had the best of both. He absolutely combined both of those. I was disappointed to see how almost tame Kobe sounded last night. He was effusive with praise, as you have to be in these moments. He didn't want to do that. The one person Kobe wanted to thank in all this?
Who's that?
Kobe.
Yeah. I'd like to thank myself.
Yeah, you know what? The Buss family, everyone, these all.
It's like the Austin Powers movie. Allow myself to introduce myself. But it is interesting. Do you have a defining Kobe moment in his career?
Well, I mean,
is there one thing that sticks out more than anything?
What that sticks out is the 81 or the 60 in his last game by taking 120 shots to get it.
I think 50.
Yeah, he took 50 shots to get
50
it.
to get 60.
So I would say really just those, because they just, I didn't see all his games and, obviously wasn't out there, but you see the highlights of that, of getting the 81 points. So I'm sure there are others that would have different messages or different thoughts about Kobe and what their big moment was, those who spent more time with him.
I remember one time we were out in Arizona and we saw, it was Kobe and the Lakers. It was, I forget if it was the Western Conference Finals. That was the Steve Nash Suns.
Right.
I forget if it was the Western Conference Finals or the Western Conference Semis. But that was the only Kobe Bryant game I ever saw in person. And I felt like every shot that guy hit was a shot with a hand directly in his face, falling away, that he happened to make. Kobe Bryant may be the best difficult shot maker I've ever seen in the NBA, and to see that put on display in person was something that always stuck.
Well, how about the alley-oop to Shaq against the Blazers, Game 7?
Right.
The hand?
Yeah. Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, where it looked like they might be out of it. And that epic series with the Kings was also a big one. But I'll tell you, to me, the ultimate one would be his final game.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm going out the way I came in.
Going out in style, man.
I'm going to put up as many points as I possibly can. And this night is, let's be honest. That night was all about him. And he made sure it was all about him.
Yeah.
That was the Sam's Club volume shooting game.
Some people are superstars and all-timers, and they shy away from the spotlight.
No.
Others look to the spotlight and say, hey, move that. It's not directly on me just yet. Move it over a little bit and let's get it right on my face.
Yeah. Look, he came into this. Look, he didn't want to play in Charlotte. They made the trade for Vlade Divac to get him out there. He orchestrated that. He orchestrated his final game. And when you can do all those kind of things from the beginning of your career to the end of it, you know that not only do you have supreme confidence in yourself, everybody you've played with or played against has that supreme confidence in you. Here's what Paul Pierce had to say about Kobe yesterday.
His competitive fire and just his work ethic, and he was able to influence a whole generation with his fire, his passion, because we just came off the Jordan era and we were like, who's next to hold the torch, who's going to be that guy with the flair and the showmanship along with the fire, and it was him. And it's just like, you got to have a lot of respect for Kobe, what he was able to accomplish, especially after Jordan was done. It was like, now we got another guy in his mold, and he was able to put together 5 championships himself.
Look, the Mamba mentality, we sort of talked about it a little bit.
Right.
That's a real thing. I mean, he had a focus and a laser-like issue. Like, I don't care. I want to. What did Mike Tyson say? I want to rip your heart out. I want to eat your children. That's sort of what the Mamba mentality was like.
And he wanted everybody around him to have that as well, which is one of the reasons, like the Dwight Howard thing, is not clicking so well. But which was interesting, Shaq, who had so much fun, but Shaq would have his fun on the court, but he would be business when he needed to be business. But that was a thing. That's what made it interesting there. And people say the same about Jordan, is the atmosphere that they created as the leaders of the team. we always say you take on the personality of your coach. I get it. But when you have such a dominant player, that everybody just naturally kind of fall in line right with kind of how they do things.
Yeah, it's a model that we understand works, but it's a model like anything else that I think is really endearing to fans, because these guys are the ultimate example, Kobe and Jordan, of what we always want. People always say they want in their athletes. I've always respected the guys like Shaquille O'Neal that show you can do it a different way. There isn't one way to be great, but if people were to choose the one way they wanted their athletes to be great, it would be the way Kobe was. It would be the way Jordan was.
And it's so interesting. We sit there and had all this conversation about, wow, I can't believe Kyrie wants to leave LeBron. His best chance to win a championship is to stay with LeBron. They've already won a championship. Well, go back a couple of decades. That's what you saw there, right?
Right, absolutely.
You saw him win 3 in a row, and Kobe wanted to win. We wanted to be Batman. He wanted to be the lone man. He wanted to be the Lone Ranger. He wanted to be the top dog, and that thing just wasn't going to work anymore. So it's not like what we saw this year with Kyrie was new.
So it raises an interesting question, and Kyrie is actually a good answer there. Who in professional sports has the same mentality right now as Kobe Bryant did in the NBA? Because I have one that comes to mind right away, and it's not in the NBA.
Oh, the NBA comp is easy.
You think so?
Russell Westbrook. Over and done with. He is, I'd say, the only one that's got that same level of, he said it himself, the ball is my only friend when I'm out there on the court, in front of all his teammates, who he's very clearly showing aren't his friends in that situation.
They're acquaintances.
He's the one guy who you really believe it, because when Kobe did it, it wasn't an act, it wasn't something he had to force, that was what he believed, and that's the same with Russ.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Rolling on a Tuesday. Glad you're with us. Golick and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we've had some interesting things on Twitter about some of the things we're talking about, including who has the Mamba mentality out there right now. And Dave writes in, Conor McGregor has the Kobe mentality. Yes, he does, but I think it's different in a combat sport. You kind of almost have to have that mentality to survive, right?
Yeah, I agree with that, but some have it more than others. Like Mayweather's more of that defensive type of a boxer. Mike Tyson in his prime, when the bell rang, he was coming across the ring to kill you. So, I think there was a difference, even though it's a combat sport, there's a difference in how some people approach it.
Yeah, I think to Kobe's point in his speech, most of what he sees is that mentality has to do with the preparation, and so maybe that's where you could argue those guys are similar and such a singular focus towards their goal.
I saw, and the same date last year, Tim Duncan's jersey was retired, and this question has come up to me, or at least I certainly have asked it, who had the better career? Who's the better player all time, Tim Duncan or Kobe Bryant? If you're, cause I can tell you right now, and maybe it's, you look at the position and how deep it is more than anything else. If you're making an all-time team, Tim Duncan's your starting 4.
Yep.
Kobe Bryant is not going to be in the starting unit for your all-time starting 5, right? So, does that give it to Duncan, or does that just say, the positions they're at, one may be more deeper than the other?
Yeah, that also says
he's the best 4 ever.
It also says that Michael Jordan happened to play Kobe Bryant's position too, which is sort of an unenviable draw.
Look, Duncan's teams won 50 games in every season he played, even in the lockout year when they only played 66. So there's a reason he's the big fundamental. That's actually an excellent question, and I'm not sure I have an answer for you, to be perfectly honest.
Well, there's no right or wrong.
Yes, there is. Don't you know it's all about opinions and conflict? Come on, that's what we've been told time and time again.
Maybe
as
Tim Duncan is the right
as our
answer.
producer just gets in there. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yes.
More of that.
Yell more.
You shut up over there.
Stanzik is
get
sitting back
in
there amidst the flames.
He
of
just
chaos
wants to
and
pull the
takes.
strings and
Yell
see
more.
everybody go crazy.
Yell at each other and disagree.
Why don't you just make loud noises? By the way, we also put it up on the poll, stealing from your show first and last. Fake tree, real tree, 50-50 split, over 1,500 votes.
That
already.
is something right
50-50
now, isn't it?
split.
That never happens.
Yeah.
Brian says real tree smell alone is all you need. Listen, they have sprays now.
Yeah, I was
you can
about to
spray
say.
a
Oh,
fake
you
tree,
got
it smells
candles
real.
for that, man. Go and
come
visit
on.
the Yankee Candle.
Yeah, there you go.
They got better smells than the real tree. I don't know how
So
they
Chris
do that.
says, thanks for the reminder. I have to water my Christmas tree. See, that's what happened,
There
Chris.
you go.
It's got me into trouble.
Otherwise, there's a severe issue.
Yes, there is.
And Allie's husband may come to your house.
That's exactly right.
Okay, the other thing we were talking about, that Mamba mentality, I think there's one clear guy in professional sports who has it right now more than anybody else.
Okay.
It's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I think it's Brady. I mean, he wants to eat your heart.
Yeah.
He wants to take, I mean, you look at him when he goes back on the sidelines a couple weeks ago against the Bills, and Josh McDaniel says he was wide open, and Brady like, he just went all in. You know, he was egging on the folks at Heinz Field that were giving him grief before the game. I mean, there was that play a couple years ago. It was also in Buffalo, I believe it or not, where he sort of loped in for a score, and Welker and I think Edelman were giving him grief on the sidelines for how he ran, and he just turned around and snapped at him and said, "Shut up, you bleepity bleeps." I mean, I think Brady has the Mamba mentality right now more than anybody else in pro sports.
I would agree. I'm interested because Tom Brady, especially in football, is one of the few guys we allow to have that. Like, what do you need to accomplish for us to excuse away outbursts on the sideline for that? You remember Odell Beckham Jr. put up that video from earlier in the season showing the side-by-side comparisons between the two. And while I understand the level of accomplishment is different, I'm wondering what the burden is for you to enter into that sphere where we're willing to excuse away passion as desire rather than immaturity.
Well, one of the things is Tom Brady last night, you know, because I saw the video as well, and I get what you're saying, but Tom Brady, A, hasn't cost his team 15 yards a few times, and B, been suspended for his actions on the field either. So there's a difference. You know, you can act the fool at times, but if you're not costing your team, okay, you're willing to put it aside a little bit. All of a sudden that flag comes out, and you're going 15 the other way, or all of a sudden the league says you're sitting a game or two. I mean, now you're hurting your team a little bit.
Tom Brady did cost his team 4 games.
Well,
or 3, whatever it ended up being.
Let's not go for the deflation sensation.
I'm just saying he was off the field for 3 games because of something that he was involved in. So it's it's there.
It was 4 games. I don't know where you got.
Was it 4? I didn't know if it got reduced down. I forget if it was the nature of it.
It was
4.
4. No,
then he was still almost the MVP.
The deflation sensation. I don't call it Deflategate because that gives it too much seriousness. It was the deflation sensation.
But to your point, he was off for 4.
About nothing.
But again, it was for, if you want to go down that road.
Let's not.
Yeah,
let's just not.
Shifting the competitive balance.
As far as the comparisons Odell was putting up, that would be my difference. There's going nuts on the sideline, which you and I have seen many, many times from our own teammates and maybe ourselves occasionally. But when you start costing your team because of those outbursts, to me, that starts to be a little bit of a difference.
Oh, I get it. That just wasn't what was being compared. You know, we still look at him showing emotion on the sideline and we say, that guy's immature. He needs to get his act together. Now, I understand you can marry those 2 series of events and say that there's correlation, but to me, looking at the 2, they're still kind of separate. We understand the stuff that happens in the white lines. We usually separate, but with him, we don't.
No, I disagree with that. I mean, look, I think that because to Senior's point, whenever you see Brady on the sidelines freaking out, it doesn't affect how the team plays. I mean, I remember the Monday night game a couple of years ago in Minnesota where Odell was so freaked out that his own teammates had to grab him and say, look, man, you need to calm down. The difference would be, in my opinion, not only what they've accomplished, but Brady's outbursts seem to focus him more, where it seems like the Odell outbursts seem to get him out of what he's supposed to be doing. And I think that's a massive difference.
If we can back that up, because really took until that game after the whole issue with the trip down to Miami where we finally saw enough of a drop-off to say, all right, maybe you've gone too far.
Right.
Because every other time, what's the one reason we'd always kind of excuse it away? Because he still goes out there and balls.
Well, yeah, they never thought about, people say, suspend him. You're like, wait a minute. Tom Coughlin's like, I'm not taking my best guy off the field. I'll only go so far. And there is, I think, part of him that may regret that now, but, hindsight's always 20/20. Well, and at the time, when you're a coach and your best player is right there, you're like, you know what, maybe I'll find another way to discipline him because I'd like him on the field.
Go back to the 2015 regular season game against Carolina at MetLife Stadium. where he and Josh Norman, both of them became completely personal, and it took it completely out of the game. You know, they were out there taking shots at each other left and right, and there were penalty flags that were flying left and right. I get what you're saying about Brady. I understand that. But at the end of the day, I don't think I've ever seen him do anything on the field that has cost his team 15 yards.
No, I get that. I guess I'm still, and this is maybe even less about Odell. He was just the one that provided the side-by-side example. But in general, I don't feel like we're always that forgiving. I feel like for certain guys, passion can get lumped into this positive idea.
I would agree. To your point, I think it would happen that Tom Brady would get the benefit of the doubt a little more because he's the GOAT and has all those rings, so you may give him a little more leeway.
Exactly. We confirm bias with the results that we see at the end. We don't focus on the process like Kobe Bryant told us to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then point to the roof so the results don't matter. By the way, tweet us at which current athlete you think in any sport has the Mamba mentality at Golic and Wingo. We'll read those throughout the day.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what people think, what their definition is of that Mamba mentality in today's sports.
I will say this, the other thing too, this past season, Antonio Brown was wide open for a play and freaked out on the sidelines, and people were getting all in his grill. It was the Ravens loss, or the Ravens game, I think, that they ended up winning. And I was like, why? That's the one time I've ever seen Antonio Brown freak out, and people went nuts. He had to apologize. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was stupid.
Well, remember, this was also coming off the videotaping, you know, that wasn't too long ago.
It was in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, but so he kind of was like already in the news for some of that. And people started making the comparisons then as well. And that was the difference of like a Tom Brady. If Tom Brady's yelling about something that's going on in the field, Antonio Brown was yelling about something about himself, which makes it look like a selfish thing. Hey, I'm open. Throw me the ball.
He was
open. He was open, but I mean, so now it's, again, look at me. I was open. Throw me the ball, or I'm going to kick Gatorade bottles over, you know, and canister over because I was so open, and I want you to know I'm mad about it.
By the way,
it's a bit much.
Maybe, but he was wide open, and he's the first player in NFL history with 5 straight seasons with 100 catches. So I would keep throwing him the ball. And we broke that play down, and we're getting way too technical here. I get it. We broke that play down, and Ben just wasn't patient with the route.
Yeah.
I mean, he was open for a 60-yard touchdown.
I know he was, and he only gets thrown the ball maybe 2 or 3 times. So, gosh, he really missed out on that opportunity.
Hey, I'm sorry, but he's your best player. And
you play to win the game.
That's all I'm saying, and we're going to play Herm forever. Herm, I love you, man. I hope you're doing well in Tempe.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
We roll on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, and it's time for the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Okay, let's go behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
We have had massive issues turning our microphones on.
Time out. Cliff, you turned my mic off.
Wow, so you're going to turn around and blame Cliff.
Cliff, after the tweet segment, when we had the 10-second break, did or did you not turn my mic off?
I turned your mic off because during the 10 seconds, I don't want you to say anything while the drums are rolling.
But
Cliff's trying to help you.
But we have decided at the beginning of the show, when we were given the option, that we will control our own microphone. Yeah. So I should control it. It should stay on.
You're doing a bad job at it.
And if I say...
You got to do better.
Okay. I just got to say,
you come at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah. Cliff is the dude that is generating the most positive responses for this show. He just went after
But he did turn my mic off. Just so we all technically know, he turned my mic off.
Cliff is doing such a good job.
Cliff, feel free to clip my mic whenever. Yeah. I'm good with it. Even if in the middle of a sentence, you're probably going to save us all. No. So, Cliff, you do you, baby.
Cliff's doing such a better job at his job than the rest of us that he's actually branched out and started trying to do ours for us.
Keeps turning my mic off. It's going to be a problem. Cliff, one thing is to remember, I'm bigger than you.
Okay. Wow. And also, he's much younger. But we move on, okay? We move on. And here's the real question. After the loss last night, the win last night by Atlanta, the Packers are eliminated from the postseason. They play the Minnesota Vikings this coming weekend. Should the Packers rest or play Aaron Rodgers? Because he's not healthy. He's healthy enough to play when they had a chance to get into the postseason, but he has, screws and plates?
Yes, he does. 13 screws.
Should he play, yes or no?
My God, no. I said this immediately when this even came up. There's no reason, zero reason to have him out there. You've proven to me that you're a competitor. You came back immediately off IR and went back into a game to try and make us into the playoff. sit till the offseason, get healthy, because we need you next year when we're back at full strength, and God willing, we've put some extra weapons around.
And certainly this goes against all that you and I have done, because if we were in that position, we would want to play, right? The last thing in the world you want to hear anybody say is, well, he wants to play. Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
You know what?
You only get 16 chances.
Every player wants to play. So going back to when we were sitting in locker rooms, you would want to play and you would understand your teammate wanting to play as well. So they're the last person to ask. This should be on Mike McCarthy and those above him that would sit down Aaron Rodgers and say, we know you want to play. We know you're a competitor. We know you want to be in the game out there with your teammates, but we're shutting you down. And shut him down for the rest of the year, as much as any one of us would want to play.
Well, you know who agrees with you? Our NFL insider and our front office insider, Louis Riddick. He also says it's time to put a wrap on 2017.
You're going and you're saying, I'm shutting him down. Because we see those x-rays. We see how it looks like Home Depot was in there trying to put his arm back together. And he's healthy enough to play, but he's not healthy. And he's going up against Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, Linval Joseph, Brian Robeson, Anthony Barr.
A real big Well, now, some people will say, well, he's not playing against the team that put him out, but that's not part of the equation here.
No, it's not. But listen, there's a lot of testosterone in the locker room, okay? And there's going to be part of Aaron screaming and saying, it's going to look like I'm not going back out there because it's the team that knocked me out in the first place. And I'd be screaming too. I get it. I get why he would be mad, and this would be very difficult inside that locker room to justify if a guy is healthy enough to go out on the field and play, that he should go out in the field and play. So I get how difficult from a player side this is, but man, from the smart side, from the management side and coaching staff, let this guy have the rest of the year off and get the offseason.
Yeah, that thought never even crossed my mind, this idea that it would somehow be Aaron Rodgers bowing out of a competitive environment. Aaron Rodgers is so infinitely better at what he does than any of those really great players on that Minnesota defense. And it is chock full of great players, and Aaron Rodgers is considerably better at everything he does at his position than any single one of those guys. And it's not even close.
Well, doesn't that it also makes it more interesting, because now I think you need to see more out of Brett Hundley, right? If you're going to believe that he's going to be someone that if you need to plug and play, he's done some good things at the end of games against some opponents that haven't had the greatest defense. I think as an organization, if you're going to keep investing in Brett Hundley and you put 3 years into this guy, this is the perfect scenario to say, okay, here's a top-ranked team that is playing for a lot on the line. Let's see what you can actually do for us.
That's an interesting thought as well, because, again, when Rodgers went down, Mike McCarthy was adamant in saying, we're not bringing in anybody. Right. We drafted this guy to learn our system and know our system. He's going to be the one playing, and he started out rough, and he certainly has gotten better, which the expectation would be. But we know this is going to be all about Aaron Rodgers I would think would throw a fit if they tell him he's not playing, but I think at this point you got to just stand your ground as a coach and say, sorry, dude, you're the greatest in the league, but we got to sit you.
Well, he did sort of have this resignation to it after the game. If you listen to his post-game press conference after the Panthers, he said, you know what, we gave it a good run. This before they were actually eliminated by the Falcons win. He said, we gave it a good run this year. We came up a little short, but I'm all in for, being around with these guys and this team for many more seasons to come. So it almost sounded like he was getting where he needed to be at that scenario. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage of America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, and that's what that was. Coming up, there was a notable absence at Kobe's jersey retirement ceremony. We'll get into that next. It is Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, steamrolling towards the big day.